In this game, winners win, and I only back winners. Trainer Kenny McPeak is a proven winner, and his horses are in my portfolio. And now they can be in yours too. McPeak's champion horses and Derby hopefuls are now featured on Morning Line. With Morning Line, I don't just watch the race. I own the moment. I invest in champions. This is my edge. Buy, sell, trade anytime. Morning Line. Own the game.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Daily Racing Form YouTube. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Mike Beer, producer Bobby helping us out as we head on over to Tampa Bay Downs. There's a big Saturday coming up, Tampa Bay Derby Day, and a lot of stakes races on the undercard. We're going to dive into one of them and preview the Columbia for you. Let's take a look at the field for this one. It's going to go as race number 7 on Saturday, March the 7th at Tampa Bay Downs. We've got 3-year-olds, Mike, going a mile on the turf in here. I think we can start with Alpiland, the most accomplished horse in the field. He's a stakes winner and then was stakes placed last time out, finished third behind a sharp horse, 1,000 Sticks. So he's probably the starting point. Yeah. But I did think there's a couple other really lightly raced horses that certainly have talent. Proton, Congressional, and Beautiful War. The two of them were both first-time starters that were very impressive winning the debut. So while I do think Alpiland deserves the respect, definitely not like an overwhelming favorite or a cinch by any means.
Yeah, can't argue with any of that for sure. I mean, I totally get Alpiland being the morning line favorite and being the horse to beat in a lot of ways here. He's certainly got things going for him. But it's not like he's a total standout in here, man. I mean, there are horses who feel like if they're not at his level yet, that they can get there pretty quickly.
As we take a look at the time from US Pace Projectors, reading an article, the preview article on DRF.com, and Mark Hasse was saying, like, when he was asked about Alpiland's last race, he was like, it was okay. It was fine. He's like, I wanted a little more, so I gave him a little time in between because it was just okay. So he even feels like, it was fine, and he's probably the horse to start with. And what's nice about him too, Mike, is that he has a pretty good running style where he can just sit pretty close. Like, he seems pretty versatile. He doesn't have to be too far out of it. Doesn't necessarily want to be right on the lead, but within a few lengths and kind of always in striking range.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah, he's a very tactical kind of horse, so that could be a good trip coming for him in here. I thought the pace maybe pretty straightforward, I guess, Gino, as far as, Nick's Honor is concerned. He's a long shot in here. If they're going to run him in this race, I guess they're just going to use his speed and try to put him on the lead. I felt like if anybody was going to go with him and maybe challenge him early, it would be the 2 Proton, who's got a really good post here, and he's got plenty of early speed.
And another point, too, in reading a preview article about this race, it seemed like Graham Motion was kind of hinting that he didn't love it, that he was on the lead last time out. He was just saying, like, we got an aggressive trip. I wasn't sure if he was aggressive that day. It was a rider thing. So maybe he's a horse who kind of wants that target. Like you were saying, it feels like the long shot's probably the horse that's going to get to the front end. And I think everybody will be pretty content with their positions if he gets like a length on the field. So let's meet the field for this one. I think this actually starts a pick 5 sequence too. That'll take you right into the Tampa Bay Derby and some of those really good stakes races. So if you're a multi-race exotics player, this is going to be an important one for you. We'll start out with Naughty Nicks here. It was a 4th place finisher last time out in the Kitten's Joy, took back at the start, was about 6 lengths off, was in the 2-path, stayed inside, was closing fine for an okay 4th. That was 2 races in a row behind 1,000 Sticks, 2 races prior to that behind Alpiland. So we'll need to improve on that rival. And again, was behind Alpiland when finishing 3rd last time out, and this guy was 4th. So can you make a case for this one to try to turn the tables on Alpiland or get into the winner's circle here?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think he's impossible in this race, and he should be a pretty fair price. I know that these connections looked at, I want to say it was the Colonel Liam at Gulfstream Park last weekend. They decided to scratch from that spot to run here, and I do think this is probably a better spot for him.
Agree.
He's pretty good. I mean, I have no problem with this horse. I think I tried him. I don't know, one of the stakes races when Alpiland beat him, maybe I tried him that day. I know I bet him in his turf debut at Keeneland. So I've had a thing for this horse. I've chased him a little bit. I think he's all right. But I just think his recent form, is only okay, Gino. I don't love him in here, but I do think, he's properly spotted here. I won't be surprised when he's, around at the end of this race.
And he feels like the type of horse, Mike, who I wouldn't be shocked if he like floats up a little bit, because you look at his paper, like his speed figures all fit really well, and he's not far off. He's really competitive with this group, but you don't necessarily like love him in here. And there's probably some other intriguing first timers maybe to go to. If he's up at like 8-1 and even floats up a little bit more and is close to double digits, then he's certainly a horse I think you want to throw into some of your exotics. We moved to Proton, who showed some speed last time out in the Grade 3 Cecil B. DeMille out in Southern California at Del Mar. It was kind of a weird race. He had the lead. It was like a hardest race. Then a horse moved early and he sat there and then he re-engaged again. And I think sometimes for horses like that, that can be a little difficult when you have to do the give and the go and you kind of change your run, like you're relaxing on the lead, then you got to grab a hold and come back and go again and be asked multiple times. So, I mean, I'm not going to take too much out of him for that race. He's still lightly raced. I think he will be one of the forward horses in here. Johnny V is going to jump aboard. I mean, just from a pure talent standpoint, he finished in front of Plutarch, and Plutarch came back and won the Grade 3 Robert B. Lewis on the dirt. So we know he's got a little class to him at least.
Yeah, I agree. I just think he fits really, really well in this race. And I'm not sure. I know that the figures aren't there yet, but we're talking about all 2-year-old races for this horse. And so he's got plenty of room to improve. I'm with you. I'm glad that you brought up the last race too, Gino, because if you're just looking at it in your daily racing form PPs, it just looks like they put him on the lead. He had a clear lead in the stretch and he got run down. But you have to watch the race to see he wasn't on the lead. In between calls, a horse up the backstretch just sort of ran right past him and took over. And he had to sort of move out, come back after that horse, take over again. I thought he ran, fine in that race. His prior 2 starts, I actually really liked. I thought his second place finish prior to that was pretty good. You were talking about how Motion, said they didn't necessarily want him on the lead, maybe, and that's kind of how they tend to ride this horse. The race 2 back, especially. I mean, they took a huge. He could have had the lead easily that day, and for whatever reason, Johnny V just took a huge hold of him, conceded the lead to the eventual winner of that race, who went a really slow pace, and he couldn't catch him. So, great post for this horse. Really handy tactical kind of speed. I think he's going to get a great trip in this race.
There are 2 horses, Mike, that I was really impressed with their debuts. Congressional is one of them. This horse debuted on January the 17th at Gulfstream Park. I think we have a replay of it where he was sitting. He had a fine start. He took back slightly, was sitting 3rd, 4th inside, 3 lengths off, was traveling well just behind the leaders, angled out 4 wide at the top of the lane, just got up. It was a good trip, but the horse ran and raced kind of like a pro. Right, for first time out, really responded inside, angled around, like did everything that they asked and just got up on the wire. So while I will admit that it was definitely a good trip for him, he did it like a horse who had been running, with a lot of experience. So I think there's certainly some ability here.
I agree with that. The other thing that I liked about the debut there, we showed you the stretch run where he just stayed really gamely after they, sort of swung him wide at the top of the stretch. That was a race that they didn't really go that fast early, but those leaders, they really picked it up around the final turn. So he had to do some chasing just to keep up with those horses and then come running and close them down at the end. He got by, we're going to see the other horse that you were mentioning here, the 2 first-time starters they have a lot in common, man. They both ran really well first time out. They both beat the same horse too. This horse beat him by a nose. The other horse beat him by 2 noses. So they have that common opponent. They both barely got by that horse, but they both ran really, really well. I think they're both players in this race.
Completely agree. We move to Vino Solo. He's won both of his races, and he's kind of a local success horse who's now going to step up and get the acid test, right? He debuted against maiden 32 claimers. He was in an optional, like a starter allowance race. So he hasn't faced the type of company that some of these others have, but this is what you do with a local horse who's a little bit sharp, and you want to see where he stacks up and see how good he really is. Can you make a case here for Vino Solo?
I wanted to. I'll tell you what, I mean, this probably isn't the right race for him, but I'll tell you what, this horse, he's a little bit of a running fool. And I don't know if you bothered to watch his 2 races because it just kind of looks like he's in an impossible spot here, but this horse really, he was 60-1 as the only first-time starter in that field on debut. This horse really ran that day. I mean, he was super green early and got way far back, but he came with a huge run in that race to close it down. He was even better last time. Still a little hard to settle. Still green, big early move around the turn of that race and just blasted that field. I don't know, man. I really took a long look at this horse because he's just kind of my kind of horse. At a big price in a race where nobody stands out. He's probably not going to win here, this is an interesting horse to see what he does here and then where he winds up. It's also worth noting, Dean, I just want to point out, he's a New York bred. I hope they get this horse up to New York for the spring to get some turf races into him.
At least an under horse, and maybe a horse if you're spreading out in the first, in like some of those exotics and pick 3s, pick 4s, pick 5s. If this is a spread out leg for you, why not toss another horse that's going to be a massive, massive price in that visually, just go back and watch either of those races. They're both visually impressive. You go, wow, like, and the rider rides the horse with confidence too, for a rider who's not been in the winner's circle a whole lot. So there's just a lot of little things to like about this horse who's going to be a big, big price. We move to Alpeland, who is one of the major players in this race. He rattled off 3 consecutive victories, one of them the Dania Beach, and then finished 3rd in a stakes race last time out. He was inside. He was a couple lengths off. He moved up to 3rd at the top of the lane. Thought he had dead game. He was kind of grinding, but no real excuses in that race. But again, another really good spot for him. Naughty Nicks and him. I think if they would have run in the Colonel Liam, they probably would have been in a tougher spot. Like, this is just an easier spot on paper for them with horses that are a little less accomplished in here.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it just feels like maybe this is the right spot. I don't really want to knock Alpeland too much. I do think he's the horse to beat in here, and I don't. His races are fine. I'm kind of. You mentioned how Cassie was talking about his last race. I agree with Cassie. Like, he just ran okay in this race. He didn't have any kind of real excuse, but
it wasn't bad.
Found a better field there. It's your call if you want to take this horse as the favorite. I personally don't, but I'm not going to be surprised if he beats this field.
Yeah, I use him as an under horse too. Yeah. Like, I just don't think from a value-based standpoint, there's a couple other fun horses in here that I'm intrigued by, but I really don't have very many knocks on him overall. Nick's Honor looks like the pace factor, right, Mike? I mean, to me, he's got to prove that he can compete at this level. He was 30-1 behind Mr. Mo's Magic last time out. We were talking about Venus Solo, who he likes. He showed speed and finished behind Venus Solo, and this group overall is going to be tougher than those 2 races he faced last time out. So I think he's going to try to catch a flyer in here.
Yeah, me too. And he's just one of those horses I expect them to go to the lead in this race if they're going to run him here. And I'll be honest, I don't care if he makes the lead in this race. I don't think he's higher in this field.
Yeah, I just don't think he's quite good enough. I like the horses that could be sitting close to him. Maybe the 2 or some of the horses tracking behind. They could get that jump on some of the deeper closers. Mr. Mo's Magic, he probably is one of those deeper closers. His last 2 races on the grass, they've been really impressive wins. He's come from like double-digit lengths out of it in both of them. I mean, he had a bad start last time out. He's 10 off early. He makes this big sustained bid from the outside. He tips out. Visually, it's impressive. He's going to have to take another step up in here, though, but I like that they're taking a shot.
Yeah, a lot like Venus Solo, right? He's the local horse.
Absolutely.
His last 2 turf races are good. And so you step him up here and see what you have. If he's not a stakes horse, that's fine. He's still got a couple conditions left. So you can always, step him back and find a better spot. I understand why they're taking a shot here. I think it's going to be hard for him to based on his running style, Gino, just to come from last and beat this field. I think it's going to be very hard for him to do that.
I agree. But right there, you don't have to travel. You don't have to go far. Yeah. Maybe you can pick up a piece. We move to Beautiful War. This guy was another really impressive first-time starter, and believe we have a replay of his effort. He was inside early on in the race. He's about 4th or 5th. He's traveling well. He's only a couple lengths off. He has no room at all. He gets over to the 3 path. He's just like full of run the whole race. He looks traveling well. And at this point, Mike, he finally gets a little bit of room at the top of the lane. And it's just a good effort to get up. It felt like determined was the word I kept coming up to, because this horse, when you're watching him all the way around, it's like he wanted to win this race.
I agree. He was in a good position, but it just looked like Bravo, who rode him that day. He just always had horse, and he was just waiting for the right time to use it. He got him clear in the stretch. This horse finished really, really gamely to close it down. It just a really rock solid debut for a horse who's got some pedigree behind him as well. Just a lot to like. It's not easy to go from debut maiden win right into a stakes race, but both he and that other, the Clement horse to the inside, I think they're both talented enough to maybe do it.
Totally agree. And we round things out with A Million Dreams, who is stakes placed on the synthetic, but 0 for 4 on the turf, hasn't gotten the winner's circle yet. And in the last 2 races, one on the synthetic, one on the turf, behind Alpeland, has just seemed a little overmatched.
Yeah, I just thought he was hard to make a case for in here. He's one of the bigger prices if you did find something to like about him, but his recent form just isn't that good, and his overall turf form just isn't that good.
Before we move to selections, let's find out a little bit more about our friends over at morningline.io. This video is sponsored by morningline.io, SEC-regulated marketplace where approved participants can trade licensed interest in racing's biggest stars. Be part of championship bloodlines. Just visit morningline.io. Buy, sell, trade, own the game. Okay, Mike, well, let's round things out with selections here. Yeah, I thought a couple fun options. You're going to go to Proton, who I could absolutely make a case for. I have the first timer, Beautiful War. To me, I think the two first timers, I'm curious how they get bet. If either one of, or the two horses that won first time out of the box, I'm talking about them as first timers, the two horses that won their debuts, both Congressional and Beautiful War. If either one of them is like a fair price and maybe floats up a little bit or doesn't get the attention, I think either one of them is really intriguing options. Proton, who you go to too, like that's why I didn't want to necessarily just go to Alpeland. Those other three horses that I mentioned, I think could all just offer us a little more value.
Yeah, that's how I looked at it too, Gino. I think my starting off point for this race was Alpeland's going to be the favorite. He probably should be, but I want to bet against that horse. I wanted somebody else, and so after that, the two horses that you were talking about, Congressional and Beautiful War, those horses that just won on debut, I had a really tough time separating them. I won't be surprised if either one of those two horses wins. I'm going to go with Proton. I think there's a good trip coming for this horse, and I liked his form as a 2-year-old, so I'm going to take him on top in this race. And I did throw that crazy long shot before.
I love it.
In there.
You got to give some love to Vino Solo there, who maybe could outrun those odds at a big price. So for Mike, 2, 3, 4, 5. For me, 8, 3, 5, 2. In a very fun renewal of the Columbia. We'd always love to hear from you. Drop a comment in the comment section. Make sure to subscribe so you get all of these videos as soon as they are ready to rock. Best of luck this weekend at Tampa.